Check. 1, 2. First of all, let me just confirm that you can hear me. Always an important metric to have is audio. Someone can just sort of let me know in the chat that's okay, and we'll get going. Well, if you can't hear me, I'm sure you'll let me know. So, first of all, Happy New Year to absolutely everyone. This is the first AMA of 2023. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome. I usually do these every 2 weeks. But the last 2 weeks has been a little bit hectic, I suppose, with the new year, and we've got new offices, of course. Usually I have the Vulcan Verse map behind me, which is kind of cool for my interviews because I always tell a joke about talking from the depths of Hades. Sound just like my uncle then. But I can't make that joke now. So in fact, we've got terrible lighting. So if I turn that off, you can't see me. Anyway, all that aside, let's get straight into things. Oh, before I start, this is my gift from the Vulcan, the staff here in Greece. Look at that. So now I can't ever forget about work in my life. I have to sleep and live and breathe with the Vulcan Forged emblem on me forever. So there we are, my lucky charm. All right, enough of all that then. So let's get started. So we've got a lot of stuff to get going through. I've obviously got the list of questions from the community in Discord, but before I sort of lay into those, let's sort of go over a bit of a high level situation with where we are with the company. If you haven't seen the video I did over New Year's, it's a really sort of good explanation of basically who Vulcan Forge is, where we are, what we're planning on doing. So I do recommend going back and watching that. It's on the Vulcan Forge YouTube channel. But one important thing that I think everyone sort of needs to know, especially if you're a first-time listener and a first-time holder of PYR, or you don't know what Vulcan Forge is to check out the new structure. So I presume this is working okay and you can see it. So I just want to sort of go over this a little bit on a high-level sort of basis to kind of know where we are from now. So as you know, Vulcan Forge, we sort of started with a couple of games, and Vulcan Verse was our main game. And as we sort of progressed, we've sort of developed many different sort of platforms. So we've had to sort of restructure things with the help from our new C-levels have come in and done an incredible job, sort of stripping away all the fat, just saying, like, what are our narratives, what are our KPIs, and where are we trying to aim things at. So Vulcan Forge is now basically not a game studio as such. We're like a high-level company. In fact, we're called Metascapes in Greece. We've actually got like an actual legal name, and the Vulcan Forge is a representing name. So underneath Vulcan Forge, we have now, we have three things now. We have Vulcan Studios, which would be, as you remembered it to be, Vulcan Forge before. So Vulcan Studios will be the Twitter account, the entity which produces all the games, including Vulcan Verse, Berserk, Tower Defense. So it'll be focused on the games only. Most of them, well, all of them are NFT based, and of course, play to earn with the new economy we have in place, which I touched on in the last video. The second major entity we've created is Elysium, of course, the layer 1 blockchain, which is obviously gearing up to be enormous, and it's its whole beast itself, and that has its own Twitter account, a social account, sort of entity, media, because it's going to be a lot more sort of neutral and agnostic. So it's not going to, whereas remember Vulcan in Athens, it was very sort of Vulcan Verse themed and sort of like Greco-Roman and mythological creatures and fantasy, whereas Elysium is like a little bit more, okay, it's based on Greco-Roman, but it's a lot more sort of agnostic in terms of its theme and its narrative. So we've got sort of projects joining that have nothing to do with fantasy, gaming, or Greco-Roman. So that's why the Vulcan conference in May is actually called Vulcan 3, the Elysium chapters. So it's going to be a lot more, I wouldn't say corporate, but it's sort of less emphasis on the Vulcan Verse fantasy side and more emphasis on, here's Elysium, just like Polygon or Binance or Ethereum, whatever, would have a conference dedicated to all the companies within that chain. Elysium's Vulcan's going to be dedicated to that. So okay, so that's exciting. And of course, our third entity is Metascapes, which is an entirely different project, which I'm sure you probably know enough of to this stage about, but I'll touch on it at some point. Okay, so let's come back off that. Okay, so should I dive straight into the questions? I think I will, because a lot of the stuff I want to talk about will actually come from the questions that I pick up on. So what I'll do is I'll paste the questions in the chat so people can see what I'm answering. Okay, so the first question is from Pat. He wants to know what the utility of PYR and Metascapes will be. So Metascapes is, as you know, it's a lot more. What should I say? It doesn't have a ceiling, whereas Vulcan Verse is like 10,000 plots. Well, soon to be more, 20,000 because of the Troy coming in. A lot more gameplay, a lot more fantasy oriented, a lot more sort of tailor made into that Greco-Roman sort of pigeonholed. Whereas Metascapes is like pretty much what it is. It's open-ended. Like anyone can make a Metascapes from like 1 plot to 1 million plots to, you can cross land. You can sort of build it in this sort of stylized version. It's more about the focus on building and assets and very minimal gameplay. So I always say Minecraft and blockchain. So PYR is basically the same. It would be the equivalent of using dollars in Fortnite or in Roblox or in Minecraft, for sort of buying skins, buying new assets, upgrading your plots to allow certain functionality, adding paintball functionality, buying every time you need to buy a new plot for your Metascape, you use PYR. So the utility of PYR is basically the equivalent of like what $1 would be to any other game. So because everything will be paid in PYR. Now, obviously, our goal is to have Metascapes as universal across as many demographics as possible. Where lots of children steal their parents' credit cards and sort of go through our Binance on ramp to kind of get PYR. Not really, but yeah, really. So that's our goal there. So yeah, so anything you can do in Minecraft, you'll be doing with PYR and Metascapes. Okay, so let's have a look at the next question. Agamemnon says, asks, I should say. He says, how will Vulcan Verse compete with other metaverses like Zuckerberg's metaverse? Well, I wouldn't say Vulcan Verse is a competitor to Zuckerberg's metaverse. I mean, Vulcan Verse really is a bit of a mix, a hybrid between sandbox. Okay, I'll say World of Warcraft. I know we're not nowhere near that level yet. Sort of more of a game stroke sandbox stroke economy within a virtual world. Whereas Zuckerberg's metaverse is more sort of like VR exploring and that kind of thing. I would say Metascapes is definitely the competitor to Zuckerberg's metaverse. Zuckerberg's metaverse is called Horizon Worlds. Now, last I saw, there was only like 200,000 users in Horizon Worlds, and that uses VR. So it's quite a small benchmark to reach in order for us to start competing with that. And I think Metascapes has a potential to get there very, very quickly. The crypto community is enormous. I think they always like a bit of an underdog to kind of compete with the bigger corporations. So I think we'll be pushing that narrative quite a lot. So yeah, I wouldn't say they're competitors, Vulcan Verse and Metaverse, but certainly Metascapes is. Okay, next question is, will PYR have perpetual futures on bridges or on exchanges? No point me answering that, answering that, because I don't know, and we don't really want it, I suppose, but I'm not going to answer anything related to token prices. Okay, so Vulcan Verse, Rafiki and Mr. P, David, Vanguard, they all ask questions about the moon and the nights, when staking level 4 coming. There's been talking about foraging battle systems, question from Elroy. And I think basically to sum up would be Man Bear Pigs question just to put in here. I think this kind of encapsulates everyone's sort of questions about Vulcan Verse. So let's dive into that. So, I mean, first of all, is there any gameplay in Vulcan Verse? Well, there is. I mean, you have to remember 2 years ago, we had the idea was just to make sort of a sandboxy game where you can just sort of terramorph in this sort of basically, yeah, I think it was only Arcadia was the only quadrant you could do it in, and that was it. So the gameplay came in a lot later. Now, as I've said in the community testers group yesterday, I mean, it's no secret that I didn't come from a game design background. So a lot of it was just like, okay, here's a niche, here's a market, here's a chance to really sort of capture something which hasn't been done on a sort of more sort of fantasy gaming level. Like Decentraland touched on it, Sandbox touched on it. I thought, Vulcan Verse, let's go dive straight in. So as the sort of we progressed, we didn't hire the right sort of game leads, I suppose, at the beginning. I mean, we went through about 2 or 3 full game development companies of making these assets. Like, it took months, and it turned out every asset was just way too high in polygons and totally unusable. So we moved to another one that again made the same mistake. And then we started adding gameplay. The way we added gameplay was basically me waking up in the morning at 3 a.m. saying, "Oh, right, let's put spying in, or let's do this in." All these kind of great ideas, and sort of, we tweet them out and say, "This is going, it's a great idea." And then the developers had to sort of like come back to me and say, "Well, okay, is this happening or is it not happening?" So we've had a lot of hiccups sort of getting there in terms of the gameplay. Now, if we could go back in time, we would have had an enormous game design document made right from the beginning. But that just wasn't the case. I mean, we were just building layer upon layer upon layer of, I'd say rough or sort of unaudited, unchecked code with sort of an addition to add to it. If you remember, like Berserk or some of the other games at the beginning, the foundation wasn't solid enough. We kept adding to it. We have to say, right, scrap that. Let's redo the networking. Let's redo it all. So right now, just to address where we are with Vulcan Verse, the last few months, whether or not maybe some of you knew about it. I didn't realize yesterday that actually you didn't know about it. There's been this giant refactoring being done on Vulcan Verse. So that sort of comes from it comes from a visual standpoint. Every single asset has been redone by the staff here in Greece. So let me just give you a little teaser of what that looks like. I mean, so I think at the end of I'm not allowed to give dates. But soon enough, you'll be seeing sort of graphics like this as opposed to before. And actually, even though it looks incredible, it actually is less resources. So a lot of the connectivity issues we have right now are based on just like literally a plant being like ridiculously high polygon and just shutting down the system. So all of these are actually less polygons. I mean, here are the sort of the wineries redone. Some more Hades shots here. I'm not allowed to share too much with you because the team in Greece have been literally working flat out for 4 months on redoing every single asset for it. So that's going to be a massive improvement to the visual system. Now, as far as gameplay is concerned, so I know a lot of people are worried about the gameplay. So Fishing was released only a couple of months ago, and I think people kind of forgot that was quite a big update we put out. But we have to stress again and again and again that without this refactoring of the code, we can't just keep adding things which are going to keep breaking it. So that's why we spent the last few months. We actually thought we were going to finish in December, the whole refactoring thing. It was going to be this big sort of like release of these new gameplay features out with it, but it didn't happen. But we've been working on that for months. So that's our main priority now, is the refactoring of the code in order to sort of allow different gameplay features. So just to give you an insight to some of this is how we just give you an answer. We're not, things aren't ignored. If you see here, every request from the community, we sort of put into a system and give them different scores. A score which will increase adoption, which will delight the customers, monetization potential, and they all have efforts and they have timelines and they have all the things we're going to put them in. Even the old promises here we have. So we've called them all up. So we have everything there. Another example is, this is a daily look at things we have to deal with, bugs and issues on the canny board, or things we fix. So I'm giving you an insight to these documents. So you realize how much work is actually going into place, literally just on bug fixing and then refactoring the entire code base. An example of the GDD we have, it's a 70-page document of every new gameplay feature we're going to be putting in. So I guess because the community, you guys don't see, this was the fishing, I think, here, because you guys don't see these documents we're working with, the sort of daily progress behind the scenes, you think, oh, there's been no new gameplay addition in the last month or two, but there's a reason for that, because we've had to literally redo the whole code base again to make it stable. I mean, there's silly things like, what's the word, like the avatar, for example. When we made the avatars, we made it so you couldn't just add any clothes to the avatars. We had to redo the animation for each avatar with a new outfit. So now it just means every time we add a new outfit, we have to redo the animation with that outfit each one. This is just an unsustainable code base that has to be refactored and redone to make this sort of enabled. So we do have some things coming out. We do have some things coming out very, very soon. But I've been told, I think rightly so, by our marketing team and some of the staff to not give any dates. Under promise and over deliver is always what we used to do. But I would expect some gameplay updates coming very, very soon. I would love to say dates. I mean, we've got some new foraging, loot boxes, we've got all sorts of stuff coming, but I'm not allowed to sort of talk about those yet. So I hope that clears up why things are taking so long and gives you an insight into the background work we're putting in. But okay, so let me have a look at any other questions we have, specific ones. Okay, level 4 land. Yeah, we're working on the refactoring of Vulcan Verse. Until completely finishes, we can't release level 4. Again, this is just what I've just said. Moon and night. Yeah, day and night are on the schedule of the stuff to be worked on after refactoring. Yeah, again, this is all going to be the answer for everything Vulcan Verse, I'm afraid. There's been many talks about new foraging and battle systems. Any update on those? This is being worked on as we speak. It's in the major new upgrade that's been developed alongside the refactoring. So the refactoring is going alongside all the new visual updates, all the new development updates, and you'll expect an enormous push with everything in there that we want. But what we couldn't do is, like 5 months ago, say, oh, okay, just hold tight for 6 months while we refactor things. I think that would have caused a little bit more sort of damage than good. So we put the fishing out as we could to kind of keep people, sort of happy with some developments in terms of gameplay. But it will all be there. I mean, Vulcan Verse is just only going to look and be better as every week goes on. Okay, let's have a look at some other questions. Is there any new music for Vulcan Verse coming in the near future? Well, that's not a hard thing to put in, really. We got a few more tracks from Jeff from the Gorillas. I don't know why we haven't put them in. I have sent them down to the dev team downstairs. There's no reason why we shouldn't put them in. If that's going to change your experience a little bit, yeah, we can add music. That's not really, that's the least of our concerns, I suppose. Okay. What will be the main, let's go back to that. Sorry, I've missed a couple, guys. Okay. Is there an ongoing feature development to automatically sort your inventory instead of having to drag and drop your items? Yes, some solution is being worked on. Okay, so some of these questions I literally can't answer. I'm not the developer in charge of the little things like that. But yeah, sounds like it's being worked on. Will there be battle squirrels in Troy? This is asking the real questions here. So I'll put that in because this is probably the most essential question of the AMA. And I'm guessing it's from Trista, because who else would it be from? No, is the answer. But, maybe we can add something. Anaxagoras, which quarter of the year you're looking forward to the most? This quarter, hands down. I mean, this month we're actually delivering a lot of stuff, and I don't just mean Vulcan Verse. I mean across, we're basically restructuring the whole website and hierarchy. So the Vulcan Forged is now becoming more sort of like a corporate entity, which leads you into the Elysium tools, the mainnet, the Explorer, Elysium onboarding, and what's the word? You've got the Elysium Launchpad, you've got the Elysium Swap, you've got everything Elysium based. Then all the games, what we're doing with those, we're focusing on ease of onboarding use, because right now with this whole Venly, MyForge, or Polygon, everything all over the place, it's near impossible to sort of retain users. So once the Elysium comes into effect, it's a case of you just set up a game account. That's it, through Google, through Facebook, through email, like you would do in any other game. And then you can choose to play the games without having any NFTs or having a MyForge account, because that gets gamers in. Then you're reminded within the game that, oh, look, you can actually earn lava or you need NFT. Then you just connect your MetaMask wallet to your account on MyForge, and then bosh, you've got a wallet. And it's that easy. So that's our main sort of focus this quarter, is sort of making that ease of user onboarding much clearer and easier. When it comes to Berserk, our main focus really is getting season 3 to be the most sort of stable version we've ever had yet, improving the UI. I think stability has gone up a lot. You can expect that coming sooner than later. I've actually got, let me just get something. So I'm going to screenshot. Okay, that's funny. Okay, yeah, foraging and summoning the Vulcanites. Yeah, they're the two that are coming very, very closely and quickly. What's the word? Soon, new foraging and new summoning Vulcanites. But there was okay, yes, great. This is from David. David's absolutely wonderful. He's our new CMO. So the main focus of this quarter are going to be easy access to the social logins and the websites redo. Just going to make things much easier when the new users come in. Vulcan Verse simply is like, let's just refactor, get that sorted, and then we can add the new foraging, the new Vulcanite summoning, the create your own quests, the alchemy, the blacksmith, all the fun stuff on top of like a really strong base code. Berserk, the focus is going to be on, again, open access without needing to have a MyForge account. Anyone can join just by registering using a Google account. In fact, all the games are going to be focused on that. And Elysium, well, you know where we are with that. I think we're halfway through the migration. And then we're going to be changing to Agora. So Agora will be the Elysium marketplace. So it won't be Vulcan Market anymore. It'll be Agora, which will host all the NFTs from all Elysium projects, including all the Vulcan Forged studio games, if that makes sense. So that's basically where we are with the structure. Okay. Will there be a challenge to win a full trip for two to New York, including Vulcan tickets? Yeah, I don't see why not. I guess we could do that. I do know if you have a Phalanx, you've got a very good chance of getting these kind of prizes. But yeah, so Vulcan 3 is it's New York, 25th of May, Thursday. I know Anthony and Skybridge are putting out all the stops to make this one of the biggest and best conferences we've had yet. Again, it's not going to be themed to the whole fantasy Vulcan Verse kind of thing. It's going to be more like, as I said, like not a crypto conference, but a little bit more corporate. But the evening entertainment and who we've got talking, obviously going to be a lot of big announcements, partners that are joining Elysium. And this is a point I can say that we do have some names joining Elysium, which in the words of some other people would blow minds. But a lot of these things are going to be announced at Vulcan if it doesn't get leaked beforehand. But obviously Elysium isn't going it's not going halfway in terms of who we're getting on board, from celebrities to corporations, from supply chain to brands to a lot of big names. And we have to thank Anthony and such for such the connections to get them on there. Okay, so Sol and Luna asked about Berserk. What's the team's marketing strategy to bring the masses for Berserk Season 3? I'm just going to read the response from the Berserk team here. Season 3 will be a great opportunity to implement key learnings from Season 2 and where our game is right now. As such, marketing and product are working hand in hand to fix some of these key issues. Before focusing on bringing the game to the masses, we know we have a massive opportunity to make the game easier to access. We've got a massive opportunity to properly onboard new players. I think Berserk Season 3 is a great chance for us testing out the new onboarding strategy. Again, remove the need for Venly, MyForge, Polygon, wallet stuff. In, register, log in, play, bosh, bish, bash, bosh, done. And then if that works well, we're going to use that same user flow for all the other games, especially the mobile games, which we think is obviously an enormous market. So it's a bit of using a Web 2 strategy and then sort of turning it into Web 3 once you've got the users hooked, line, and sinkered. Are you in talks with Binance to integrate Elysium as deposit withdrawal options? Okay, I don't know how much I can say on this. Well, I don't think it's anything bad, but yes, we are. We are following the correct steps to integrate Elysium with all the major exchanges, including Binance. Yeah, there are obviously some things that have to be done for it to allow it to be integrated. The exchanges aren't in any sort of they know how big we are and how big we're getting, and we do bring a lot of volume to these exchanges, and we are we're not a small project anymore, so they're all very eager to help us in any way they can. So you'll 100% see Elysium on some exchanges, hopefully the big ones, as soon as we're rolled out. Is it possible to have a VV? Okay, it's an NPC question, which has been answered before. Okay, sorry about this, the delay. For Digism says, what were the purchase of Quad Allegiance on the MyForge website and when? This is a great question. At the moment, the proportion of users pledging allegiance to Quad is lower than we'd like. So we haven't really thought of much utility for that, but it's just great to have that functionality in place when we do have enough sort of allegiance pledges and enough sort of features enabled in games that we can actually make it worth something. So, if, Hades has certain quests or Hades has more gameplay to it, we can sort of reward the Hades lot, if you're a Hades person, of course. What will Community Quest Toolkit be ready? Okay, again, I think this is going to be one of the biggest game changers for the whole Vulcan Verse. We'll basically be giving up the bare bones, create your own quests, the mechanics that we had to create the basic quests. And so passing that on to the community is actually not so bad, not so hard. It's based on we had our quest editor on the website, so we could just add sort of layers of quests in there and it would be put on the game, but we're going to put it in game for you to use. Again, this is something which will not happen until after refactoring, and the refactoring is so nearly done. Just sort of bear with us. One day you're going to wake up and it's going to be boom, Vulcan Verse will just look entirely different. It will act different. Everything will be just better. And then we can start adding all these cherries on it. There's no point adding cherries to a broken cake, or whatever the phrase is. I'm sure there's a better phrase than that. Okay, can you update us on partner projects and those that have fallen to the wayside? Well, due to the new C-levels joining, we have to do things a lot more legally now. Not that we were doing it illegally before, but we want to sort of make sure much more contracts are signed before we announce who's joining Elysium, because we've had a case where a few companies or projects have said they're coming to Elysium and they sort of marketed off our back and then they kind of disappeared. So I'm not going to give any names of projects to give them exposure until they're definitely confirmed. Well, one I do know is Vendetta DAO. That's definitely confirmed to be coming to Elysium, so I can give them a shout out. But there are a lot of the same projects that still come that we've mentioned before. The only ones that fell to the wayside, I think the Bournemouth chose Polygon, and there was another one that chose somewhere else. But yeah, it wasn't a major amount. I mean, the ones which are coming before are still coming along. And can I comment on the Kurist situation and if Elysium still aims to be carbon neutral? So I am aware of the situation at Kurist. I don't know if it's right for me to publicly speak about what's going on over there, but all I can say is that we do have the same strategy and same implementation with the tree planting going on over there. Let me just check how much I can say and how much I can't say about this, but it won't affect our tree initiative, that's for sure. But I know there are some issues going over at Kurist, and it's probably not right for me to sort of say anything publicly about what they're doing. Not they're using another chain. I think there's some more issues regarding them as a project, but yeah, well, we have got our own sort of strategy for tree planting going on, and that will be announced in due course, I presume. Okay, so any more questions? I'll come to the comments section in a bit. Okay, can we have more info about card rentals, Vulcan Verse, Vulcan Vault, and Frenzy Pass? Okay, Frenzy Pass. Look, this is probably one of the single most correlation between user count and PYR usage, if you think about it. So like you're paying like a monthly subscription, like $8 for blue tick or something, blue check for Twitter. You'll be paying a subscription for your Frenzy Pass. That gives you access to like the lava routes in the games. It gives you access to certain cards or sort of games of Berserk, or it gives you access to do certain things in Vulcan Verse. So that's where we want to make sure we get all the features that are going to be available for Frenzy Pass laid out and marketed successfully. So there's enough sort of not enough desire and hype behind getting the Frenzy Pass, because again, the idea is that most people should long to have that Frenzy Pass, and the more users that have it, the more sort of PYR is utilized every month in order to sort of retain it. So again, yeah, so Frenzy Pass will be coming along. Let's keep going. Okay, 10-point plan, Phalanx use case. Okay, I think you can ask that in the Phalanx channel. I mean, Neswolf has answered this question many, many times about the Phalanx use cases. But again, it's just a case of like, do you have a Phalanx? And if you do, it gives you an extra bow or an extra sword. Again, Vulcan's Creed is going to be one of the first games to use Phalanx in terms of weaponry. So make sure your Phalanx has got weapons. Think arrows. It's a clue I can give. How many Cronus nodes have been claimed? Okay, so Skybridge have got a node. Another end. Okay, the ones that we can publicly announce are, yes, Bergs does have, will be getting a Cronus node. Anthony, Scaramucci will be having a Cronus node. Skybridge having a Cronus node. There are maybe 4 or 5 other entities which are having a Cronus node, which I'd rather sort of wait for the marketing team to tweet out, and a bit more of like a huzzah, this person you didn't even know is joining Elysium is now actually holding a node. But we're in no rush to give those away. It's not like there is a shortage. I think we had like 200 applications to have a Cronus node, and so we are choosing them to be like big names, strategic names. You know how it works. Tower Defense is a fun game. I love it, but it's only good for a few hours of gameplay. Will there be new levels released? Can you make a level with the AI? Yeah, for sure. At the moment, we're doing penetration tests from all our side games to see how we do in regards to the upscaled flow and security tests we did. Once that's done, we'll continue the new levels. Last week, we released the Vulcanite rentals for Tower Defense, as well as a desktop build for Tower Defense, in case you didn't know. So ever improving, ever developing, ever evolving. And yeah, I mean, it's always getting better and it's always improving, it's always having more functionality. But I don't see why there wouldn't be new levels put in there. We've got some good project managers on that now, which does bring me to the next question about block babies. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's dying, but we've certainly picked our priorities now. I think that's quite obvious that we've sort of picked the games that are getting the most traction and deserve the development of spending power to sort of progress. Block babies certainly isn't ruled out. I think there's an enormous market for block babies, but when we've got this amount of developers, it sounds like a lot, like whatever, 100, 130 across everywhere. It's not actually that many. So we are making the focus really is Vulcan Verse, Berserk, Tower Defense, Vulcan Runner, Vulcan Assassin, Vulcan's Greed, and Metascapes. So they're the big ones, and then on top of that we've got the sort of the blockchain design developers and the website developers and such like. Block babies, Forge Arena, chess and poker, I'd say having put on pause for now. Poker is still usable. Forge Arena is playable, but for it to go to the next level, it will need like a real push of developers. And we're not saying we're not going to do that, because I think it has potential to do it, but we'd rather sort of focus all our energy on the main games right now and come back to them. But again, block babies would need a GDD before we progress to this next level, because it was just sort of battling a little bit and that was it. So it wasn't the most fun game in the world, but I think it has got its niche. So not dying, but certainly hasn't got a priority other games have got. Okay, I think that's it. Itmas asked, how's my role has changed? It'll be changing in 2023. Well, since David, Chris, Mills, and Yap, Toby, and Joanna Dionexis, all these new people have come on board. I'm obviously not running the social media anymore, which is, quite sad, but I live. But other than that, my job hasn't changed much, really. I'm still working insane hours, but that's out of choice. I'm sure I could take a few days off and things won't fall apart. Yeah, that's what it is. I could take a few days off now and things would not, I wouldn't be worried, because we've got capable people running things now. So that's good. But yeah, I'm obviously just still here doing the same things. I'm talking Istanbul at the blockchain week in a couple of weeks, and Dubai at the Metaverse Summit. Vulcan Forged are talking there. I've been invited to talk there. But yeah, carry on cracking on doing what I'm doing. Okay, so I think that's it. Let me see any questions in the YouTube channel itself. Let's have a go. So let's show some of these comments as well. Ryan Miller, let's go. Let's go. Happy New Year. Yeah, happy New Year to you all, guys. Growing in a muddy market, that's for sure. We've actually expanded. In fact, we've never been busier. I never sort of done things at a better pace, an efficient pace, I'd say now. Some dude asking about burning some stuff. When will Elysium Launchpad start working? Again, I'm not allowed to give dates, but again, this month is a lot of Elysium things are coming this month. That's all I can say. Whether or not it's a Launchpad, I don't know. I'm banned from saying dates, but yeah, soon. Seems that you build something very complicated, very few people understand. Yeah, it's probably true. Was a bit too complicated. Okay. This guy keeps talking about inflation and burning. First thing you have to improve is the graphics. There we are. Okay, in-game cloaks. Okay, there's not many. Yeah. Fishing was 1 month ago. Yeah, it was 1 month ago, but I think people Kind of forgot about that. That was a lot of work that was put in for that, and the refactoring hadn't been done either. We still put it out. Yeah. Vulcan Forged skins. So this is a good question by David Vanguard about the Vulcan Forged skins. Yeah. Again, we would love to push out 100 different clothing sets for the avatars, but again, this is a perfect example of us screwing up the beginning of the foundation work, where now we have to reanimate the avatar in every single clothing we put on them. So we've got to redo all that again. So you can just put clothing on them, because otherwise it's just unsustainable. It's like trying to program linearly instead of using object-oriented code, using procedural language. It's just not efficient. Okay. Any more questions? Glitch has left for now. He's got some personal issues. I'm not really my place to talk about that, but he needs some time off, just like my uncle needs some time off. He's had a terrible time in the family. We all need these times off now and then. Okay, if there's any other questions, ask me in Discord. I'll be there. Let me just check on Discord now to see if there's any questions. Yeah, okay. I think that's it. All right then, guys. Well, listen, you know where to catch me. I'm always in Discord, and if I'm not, someone else will be. Much love to you all. You're basically all part of the staff in my eyes, and we've made this far together, and we'll continue to do so. And if you've managed to listen to this long, then congratulations. And yeah, forge on. See you guys soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.